me get this straight. The only reason he was paid more than I am is because he was a man?
Oh, sure. It has nothing to do with your work.
Wait, no. Wait a minute. You know, because I really want to understand this. I'm doing as good a job as he did.
Better.
And I'm being paid less than he was because...
You're a woman.
Hey, Cassettes, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Case Diaries.
What is up?
We're three old friends learning everything we can about movies and TV and hopefully teaching you in the process. I'm Marcy.
I'm Robin.
And I'm Adam.
So last week we talked about the history of the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the making of the show. And we didn't get to talk about our favorite episodes or the show's reception or what it means to us. So we're going to do that this week, starting with our favorite episodes.
So we got to start with the first one. Love
Yes.
is All Around, Season 1,
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Got to start at the beginning. In the season pilot, Mary Richards breaks up with her longtime boyfriend Bill and makes the big move to Minneapolis. Her friend Phyllis finds her a nice apartment that her neighbor Rhoda believes belongs to her. Lou Grant hires her at the news station, WJM, not as secretary, which she came in to interview for, but as associate producer.
Oh, whoa.
Madness.
Yeah.
Could you imagine
Going in
for a secretary job and getting a producing job just cause?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the boss was like,
you know what?
I don't care.
Tell you what, I'll try you out for a couple of weeks, see if it works out. If I don't like you, I'll fire you.
Right.
You don't like me? I'll fire you.
Yes. That certainly seems fair. What's the job?
The job is that of associate producer.
Associate?
Something wrong?
No, I like it. Associate producer.
The job pays $10 less a week than the secretarial job.
The pilot episode laid the groundwork for a fantastic show. It introduced all the characters and their dynamic flawlessly, and showcased how Mary was a capable woman on her own.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I've said before already, like she went through all this ridiculousness with like flying colors. She handled herself the whole time, even when Lou was being, I don't know, somewhat intimidating as a potential boss would be.
Yeah.
She's still like totally there for the, I guess, interview.
Yeah, she holds her own.
Yeah, exactly.
When she thinks that he's crossing a line, she's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't have to answer these questions.
Yeah.
I don't have to answer. I don't talk about my personal life. I don't.
That's not relevant to the job.
And then, they play the joke where he'll ask an even worse question and she'll answer the original question. And that's very funny, but you're right.
Yeah.
She still knows where the line is.
Yeah. I love the part where her boyfriend comes back and he tries to convince her to take him back into,
Yeah.
and it's already showing you how this is her new life. Like Lou is like already showing up at her place.
There. Yeah.
Like this is like
so
her,
comfortable.
This is her new life already.
Yeah, it turns out she lives in the neighborhood where there's like a ton of good bars right there.
Yep.
So
he's
Lou's
just
always
like, cool.
around.
Yeah. I know. And I love that. And, so like Lou is there already. And he's, she dismisses the ex-boyfriend, and he says, well, take care of yourself. And she says, I think I just did. And
I love that.
Yes.
It's such a good line.
Yes. In this episode, and actually more than this one, many times, she handles her potential love interests, like various dates.
Yeah.
She handles them all like a boss,
like a
man,
champ,
right?
Exactly.
Because later on she comes home with this guy who seemed to have a good date with, right?
Yeah.
And then as she's making coffee, he takes his shirt off,
Right.
Yeah.
preparing for what comes next in his mind. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah, she's a GTFO.
Yeah.
Here's the door.
So it's like, so despite being at least somewhat concerned about how old she's getting and not having somebody yet, like those thoughts are still there, and especially because Phyllis kind of really ingrained that in her, right?
Yeah.
At least tried to. She's still not gonna just settle for a junk guy, right?
Nope.
So
No.
it's like pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right. The next episode is season 1, episode 6. Support your local mother.
Oh my gosh.
In this
Yikes.
episode, yeah. We hear more about what Rhoda does for a living and get to meet her mom. It was rare for a TV show to express such complex relationships with its supporting characters so early on. This episode resonated with a lot of people that have difficult relationships with their parents.
Yes. This episode it was such a surprise so early to be like,
Yeah.
to show this dynamic with Rhoda and her mom, and like, Mary not understanding Rhoda's complicated relationship with her mom.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have that kind of relationship with her own mom.
Yeah.
And so Rhoda trying to explain it to her, like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like, I send her the money, she uses it to buy a gift. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want her to do that. I
No.
want her to use the money for her.
Yep.
And this is just that this whole, and it's just so hard for her to explain, to Mary. Like, Mary just doesn't get it. And because Mary doesn't get it, she allows Rhoda's mother to stay with her for several days. And then over time does start to get it. Does start to
understand.
Yeah.
And like the guilt. I think there was a level of guilt.
I was gonna say.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way Rhoda puts it. It's like she thrives on making you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Because maybe not intentionally, but just what she says immediately makes you feel guilty about whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I couldn't let you do the dishes or whatever. It's like, what? Like, I just did them. Like, stop.
Yeah,
like,
stop. I already did the dishes,
Yeah, or she gives Mary 2 scarves, and Mary's like, "Oh, I love this one," and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you hate the other one.
Yeah, you hate the other one.
Yeah. And so she wears both scarves because
drives me insane. I totally get Rhoda's hesitance.
Yes.
Yep.
Or the card where she says, "No one will love you as much as I do." And Mary's like, well, what's wrong with that? And she's like, really? She's talking about how I'm going to be alone forever.
Yeah. And she says, oh, I think I wrote it down. It's not a card. It's a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally get it. Again, it's another real scenario, relatable scenario that the show is not afraid to dive into. I mean, shoot, it's only episode 6. Like you said, it's super early on.
Yeah.
Your mother is down there, and you're up here, and you say you love her, but
you're talking about Midwestern love. I'm talking about Bronx love. There's a certain amount of guilt that goes with that. My mother wants the people she loves to feel guilty.
The next one is season 3, episode 1, The Good Time News. In this episode, Mary finds out that the previous associate producer, who was a man, made $50 more than her and approaches Lou about it.
Yeah, $50 more a week.
A week?
Which is
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
They disagree about her pay, but Mary knows that the conversation isn't over. Mary also wants station WJM to try a new format in order to gain more viewership by having Gordy, who's the weatherman, balance Ted out in announcing the news.
Yeah. And so for the first time, she goes against Lou in this meeting. And this episode is groundbreaking for 2 reasons. One, they address the wage gap in this episode. They explain that, the moment Mary was hired on, they just dropped the pay.
Yeah.
And when she asks Lou why, he very flat out says, because he was a man.
Yep.
Doesn't give her any other reason.
No.
And because there really isn't one.
Yeah.
So he's very honest with her about that.
Then he just comes up with fake reasons.
Yes.
Like, oh, he had a family.
You don't have a family.
Yeah, you don't have a family.
Yeah. And then
she's like, come back to me when you have an answer
and
for
she
that.
comes back with
she
a
takes a
right
second,
answer.
but she does come right
Yeah.
back. She's like, that shouldn't have anything to do
She's like,
with it.
hold on, Mr. Grant. Because
Need is not.
that has nothing to do with it. Because then you would have to pay a bachelor less than a man who's married, and pay the married man less than the man who has 3 kids, and you don't do that. So and it's such a great argument, and so like having this discourse on TV was really cool.
Yeah.
Because asking for more money is something that is very hard for everyone to do, but especially women, and especially because, you know, like Mary Tyler Moore herself had talked about this.
Yeah.
How she had asked for more money in the past and lost jobs because of it.
Yeah.
You know, so this is something that it was really special that they talked about this. But it was also important because there's a scene where she's preparing for this big meeting.
Yeah.
And Rhoda was like, I thought you liked doing these meetings. And Mary says, I liked them when I thought I could be myself. But now I feel like I represent women everywhere. Because she's the only woman in the room.
Yeah.
So she has to, like, she's telling them what every woman thinks, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because, you know, and
Exactly.
that's just so much pressure.
It is.
Boy, I hate those meetings.
You never used to.
Yeah, well, it used to be I felt like I'd be myself. Now I feel I represent women everywhere.
Oh, Mary, that's all in your head.
Oh, yeah? What would you say if the station manager kept trotting in groups of people and saying, this is our woman executive?
What do you say?
Oh, usually, hi.
All right, so the next episode, season 3, episode 7, and it's kind of a two-parter. There's also season 3, episode 11.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Just Around the Corner, and then You've Got a Friend. In episode 7, Mary's parents move into an apartment just around the corner and are constantly checking up on her.
Ugh.
Classic.
Yikes. And then, in episode 11, Mary's dad is bored of retirement, and Mary tries to find him a friend. She starts with Lou, but then decides she should try to be a friend to her own father. She invites him over to dinner so they can get to know each other better, as he spent a lot of time at work over the years as a surgeon. Though these 2 episodes are a few apart, they are forever linked for those that saw them. At the time, what happened on TV was not exactly a reflection of what the youth were doing. Mary was portrayed as a good Midwestern girl. Shows, including Mary Tyler Moore, had to toe the line in order to make it past network executives and censors. As the seasons went on and the show continued to grow in popularity, Mary became more outspoken. In the first of these 2 episodes, Mary is shown going out for the night and does not return until 8 in the morning, in the same dress that she had worn the night before.
Oh, boy.
What do you think that's saying, guys?
Heck of a
man.
party.
Yes, and you know it's wild too because the TV show Maude was airing at the same time, and they referenced that episode on Maude.
A few short weeks later, Mary's mother calls out to Mary and her father, "Don't forget to take your pill." The pair of them reply, "I won't."
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Mary gets a little look from her father, but that's about
That's
it.
all it.
This, of course, implied that Mary was on birth control, which was a huge landmark.
Oh my God, yeah.
This is not talked about.
It was there was like an uncomfortable beat.
Yes.
Yeah.
They waited on that line.
Yeah.
And then,
Because they were like, haha, get it?
Get it?
You understand?
Yeah. And you could hear the audience kind of laughing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was kind of like a toss away, like a throwaway line, throwaway joke.
Yeah.
But it meant so much. It was so
Yeah.
important.
It did.
And actually, it's what's funny is because there was an actual studio audience and not just a laugh track.
Yeah.
You can actually hear some more, like, women laughed a little harder at that
Yes,
one.
than the men did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The producers did not want judgment to fall on Mary, and so they allowed the comment to quickly be moved on from and instead focus on the relationship between her and her father. Silverman explained its significance by saying, had it had something to do with Rhoda, it wouldn't have had that effect, because Rhoda was something of a rebel. If Mary was taking the pill, it gave the stamp of approval for sexuality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and these writers were trying so hard to make sure she seemed sexually liberated. Like I remember there was like someone had written an article saying that Mary wasn't having enough sex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, she's not?
Well,
Here you go. If
You
you,
know-
yeah.
They wrote an episode specifically for her being like, I don't think I'm undersexed.
and actually, one thing that I really liked about, I can't remember which of the 2 episodes it was in, whenever
Okay.
she came home at like 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I believe that was the first one. And
The first
it's
one.
so funny because, yeah, a lot of people that had seen it originally, like, they don't recall which episode had what because they were
tie
so...
in so
Yeah.
perfectly.
Yeah.
But in that one, you know, like, what were you doing out till 8 in the morning? She's like, I'm not going to tell you, Mom.
Yeah.
And she never does.
Nope.
The whole episode. I
Yeah.
thought maybe they would hint at what she did or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of implied that she was just out partying and then maybe stayed over at some guy's apartment.
Yeah,
or
or gone on a date and
Yeah,
came back in the
maybe.
same clothes.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
we as the audience understand what may or may not have happened. But the fact that she never actually says to her parents,
Yes.
she's like, when you guys didn't live around the block, you didn't care.
Yeah.
Or weren't
Yeah.
as concerned as
Yes.
you seem to be now.
Mhm.
Also, I'm 30 and I don't have to tell you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
So
She
it's
never
actually
does, and she refuses to let them make her feel bad about it.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not going to feel bad about
No.
this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let
Yeah.
you make me feel bad.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
kind of crazy
Mhm.
for a character to do that to their own parents on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
in
wow.
1970,
Yep.
whatever.
For real. Yeah.
I did think it was funny though how her dad had said like, "Oh, we worried." It's just
Well, yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just also like he
Oh,
brought up
that's right.
the long distance
Long-distance
charges.
call.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
of course he would be worried about
Right.
the price.
The next episode we're going to talk about is My Brother's Keeper from Season 3, Episode 17. Phyllis's brother Ben comes to town. Phyllis intends for Mary and Ben to become acquainted and possibly date. But to her chagrin, he hangs out with Rhoda. Couldn't have been worse.
Oh no.
At the end, it is revealed that Ben is gay.
So my favorite part of this episode is there's two parts. One, Ben and Rhoda go to this like concert or whatever,
Yeah.
and Phyllis sees them there, and she returns to tell Mary how like upset she is
Mhm.
that Ben and Rhoda went to that concert together. She's wearing this black evening gown.
Yeah.
And she's in mourning. It's like she's in mourning.
Uh-huh.
She's so upset that Rhoda's hanging out with Ben.
There was this commotion in the aisle. Late arrivals, boors, I thought. I turned to give them a good glare. It was Ben. I was so pleased. He and Mary, I thought, have come to join us.
Oh, well, no.
Then I saw it was not Mary. It was
Rhoda.
Rhoda.
And then later on, when she's kind of freaking out a little too much,
Yeah.
she's freaking out about, Rhoda and Ben hanging out together upstairs or having dinner, and Rhoda's using Mary's kitchen to like cook
Yeah.
the food because
Right.
Rhoda doesn't really have her own kitchen up there. And so she's, doing that, and she passes by Phyllis, who's
Yeah.
looking mortified. She goes, "Hey, sis."
Yeah. Oh my
I was
gosh.
like,
Yes.
oh my god.
Oh, it was so funny. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yes.
I loved the drama when she went to Mary's party later
Oh,
on. Because
yeah.
Mary had just like a house party, and Mary's like, Phyllis, like I only have one party a year, and sometimes not even that.
It's
like
been a year and a half
it's-
since I've had my
yeah,
last
like-
party, Phyllis.
like the
Don't ruin it.
Yeah.
like it's a lot of money to spend and all that kind of stuff. I only have
throwing a party's
and
expensive.
Phyllis is like, I don't know if I can like hold it in.
Immediately
her
ruins it.
drama is just like off.
Yeah,
the
she's
charts.
just everyone's
can't.
fine, and then she's just in the corner, just goes like starts to sob, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is one of the moments where it's like, God, Phyllis,
Yes.
I can't stand you,
Dude.
because there was a moment where she kind of confronts Rhoda, and it's like, tell me the truth. What are you and
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah.
She's like, we're just friends. Tell me the truth. We're just friends. No, tell me the truth. And then Rhoda jokingly lies to her and
course,
says,
lies.
oh, we're engaged and we're going to be married tomorrow. But Phyllis
that's what she
goes
believes,
right over her
yeah.
head, and she goes, thank you for being honest with me.
Mm-hmm.
And like believes it. And I'm like, Phyllis, you're insane. She's ridiculous, but like we mentioned earlier, that's the character. That's
Yes.
that's how it's supposed to be, and it drives me insane in that way. That's like
A good
hilarious. you know?
Yes. Oh, God.
Though the gay rights movement was on Silverman's mind at the time, it was a pure chance that this episode would include this issue. The original script had Ben and Rhoda together, but when actor Bob Moore showed up, Sandrich decided to run with this opportunity as the actor himself was gay. Though Sandrich had wanted the news broken lightly to Phyllis, Harper fought for the line to be delivered abruptly and factually. She won out, and it earned one of the longest audience laughs, but not at the character Ben's expense.
Yeah. They're not laughing because he's gay. They're laughing because of this situation.
Yes, the reveal.
The fact that, like, Phyllis was so freaked out by the idea of him dating Rhoda. You know, and it's like, you had nothing to worry about this whole time he's gay.
Yeah, it was never even a possibility.
Yeah, she just had such relief that it wasn't Rhoda, that it wasn't even an issue. It wasn't even brought up.
It wasn't even a
that
thing.
there was any kind of problem with him being gay.
The whole point was she was trying to get him with Mary.
Yeah.
And it's like, Phyllis, the whole time your plan was not going to work.
Yeah.
No matter what happened.
And he was uncomfortable from the beginning. You could tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think he is smart enough to know what Phyllis is doing. And I think, obviously, he and Mary were like, no, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because they even mention it. Mary's like, oh, you know, Phyllis is excited for us to date or whatever. And he's like, no, Phyllis is excited for us to get married. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, she just wants it to jump right to that.
Yeah.
Because, like, from the beginning, Phyllis is one of those people who's kind of flaunting her own marriage and desperate for Mary to be married.
Yep, constantly.
It was incredibly important that Rhoda didn't gently break the news, because this showed the audience that there was nothing shameful about it. It was just the truth.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought you knew.
Yeah.
You know, like...
She's like, I thought you like, how did you not know that?
Yeah.
Speaking of marriage, the next episode we have is The Lars Affair.
Oh, boy.
Season 4, Episode 1. In this episode, we meet the happy homemaker, Sue Ann Nevins.
Hey.
Yeah. Phyllis finds out that Sue Ann and her husband Lars are having an affair and asks Mary for help when Sue Ann refuses to give him up.
Yep.
Yeah.
This episode, I did not like Sue Ann when I first watched this episode. I was like...
Very hard.
This is Betty White's first episode. She did so well that they eventually brought her on as a regular cast member. Sue Ann was not only a single woman on TV, she was also on the lookout for a hot date.
Always.
Every time. Oftentimes Lou.
Oh my gosh. She became the queen of double entendres and was a fan favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's hilarious. Notice how in this episode, Phyllis never considers leaving Lars and instead blames Sue Ann for the affair. This is a definite sign of the times.
Yeah. This is one of those episodes where it's like, this is something that, this is how they would have handled this back then, and very differently from now.
It did feel a little weird.
Yeah. You know, she's upset that they're having the affair, and her instinct is to go to Sue Ann and to let him go, which is wild. She doesn't approach her husband and yell at him or be upset with him.
Yeah.
He's the one that's sleeping with another woman.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such an interesting, you know, situation.
Yeah.
You know, and then finally Mary has to convince Sue Ann by saying, okay, look at it this way, Sue Ann.
Yep.
You're going to lose your show.
Like, all right. You know, and then she's like, all like, oh, but I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for all the
women that need me.
Yeah, women out there that need me. It's like, oh, geez. Then the other thing is that her way of then making sure that Lars doesn't do this again is like to constantly keep track of him.
Keep track of what he's doing.
She's like,
calls the hospital he works at all the time.
Yeah.
If there's no trust in a relationship, like, you know,
yeah, exactly.
She gets off the phone with him, saying that he's at work.
Yeah.
But then she calls his work
immediately
to make sure that he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yep. That's unfortunate, but in this context, I guess it's kind of funny. Next, we have The Dinner Party, Season 4, Episode 10.
Yeah.
In this episode, Mary throws a dinner party for Congresswoman Margaret Geddes. She only has 6 chairs at her table and must carefully plan it. Of course, things don't go according to said plan.
This is one of those classic, you know, sitcom-y episodes.
And in a way, it bugs me because I've talked about this on our show before. Yeah. When things constantly go wrong, I get frustrated.
Yeah, from bad to worse.
It
oh my
bugs
God.
me.
Ted is so great in this episode.
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
When she doesn't invite him, to dinner, and he's like, "Oh, that's right, I forgot. The Minneapolis Six is what he refers to."
Yeah.
The dinner party. Oh my God.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And then Rhoda brings that guy
anyway.
Yes.
Even though and Rhoda was the one that told her, like, you could only keep it to 6 people.
Yeah.
And then she ends up bringing a date anyway, who's a very, very young Henry Winkler.
Yes, which is hilarious.
Yes.
And he has to go sit up at this random table.
I know.
It's
such
like
a
the
great
kids'
bit.
table.
I know. When he asks for the salt.
And Murray gets up and brings him the salt. It's such a good, he's just in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people just constantly mess up their stuff. Not like it's not Mary doing anything wrong.
No.
Other people are just doing it wrong. Like Lou takes a whole half of the meal that was cooked for the whole group.
3 people won't be able to eat.
Lou, you have to put some back.
Yeah. But I will say I was happy that Sue Ann was actually helpful.
Yes, she was.
Yes,
because she helped put on the party. She cooked the food.
Yep.
Yes.
She pretended it.
She pretended
wasn't
Mary.
her.
Yeah, she pretended Mary made it.
Yeah, which was very sweet, especially for her.
And in that moment where, because she didn't tell Mary what the dessert was.
Yeah.
She's like, "We're gonna have dessert. And she goes,
"Do I smell baked pears, Alicia?"
Right, baked pears, Alicia.
Oh, what a wonderful surprise. It's my favorite dessert in the whole world.
"Wow, that was a nice save there, Sue. It was perfect."
My favorite.
Yeah. That's pretty great.
Did you guys think, because Ted in that episode had talked about how when he was younger, there was this girl that was like, told him you stink or something like that.
Yes.
That's why I didn't invite you. And how he talked about, I think he did a doo-doo bag or stink bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Or that's
I
it.
took out my junior chemistry set.
Yeah.
They made the biggest stink bomb you've ever seen.
Yeah. So did you guys think at all when he showed up to Mary's that in that white bag was going to be a stink bomb or something?
No, I didn't.
I totally thought that it could be, because I thought he would be like, "Here, I can't stay, Mary. Here you go."
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Nobody
That's
thought
funny.
about that? Okay.
I didn't. Oh my
I
God.
totally thought that was a possibility.
I mean, that's probably what they wanted you to think.
Probably.
Like, they probably wanted you to think that.
I did think that it was a a weirdly small bag for enough sherbet for 6 people.
Yeah, sherbet for 6 or whatever. But...
So wow, that's a great thought. I kind of that's a great head canon. I like that.
Man.
Next, we've got, will Mary Richards go to jail?
I love this episode.
Yes.
This is something that not a lot of stuff talks about how hard it is to be a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and not a lot of stuff talks about things like this.
Yep.
How you can go to jail for not revealing sources.
Yeah,
sometimes.
this is one of the great episodes where it's like the scenario involves the job specifically and not necessarily just Mary's life and the people around her.
Yeah. And in this episode, Lou gives this really great speech about the freedom of the press.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a reporter's job to inform the people. But if a reporter can be forced to reveal his confidential sources of information, he can't do that job because his sources will dry up. And pretty soon there won't be any information worth printing. The whole concept of freedom of the press will be destroyed. And with it, democracy, as you and I know it and cherish it. But don't let that influence you.
This is season 5, episode 1. In this episode, Mary refuses to reveal a source and is put in the county jail for the night. She meets a couple of women that are heavily implied to be sex workers, another big deal for American television.
Yeah.
This episode would be the closest Mary Tyler Moore would come to discussing the famous Watergate scandal. It is brought up that if the news people are forced to reveal their sources, then they would have no news to give the people, for everyone would be afraid to come forward with information.
Yep. So this is a fantastic episode. I love the scene where Sue Ann throws this party to say goodbye to Mary because she's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh my god.
Trying to kind of keep her spirits up. You know, as they come and they arrest her and they take her away, and seeing Mary in prison is such a weird juxtaposition. You know, she's like, I can't go to jail. I never even had to go see the principal. You know, like. It's just very much...
They even put her in handcuffs.
They do.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, they do the whole thing. And then, she gets, obviously makes bail. She doesn't have to stay there.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny how being so nervous in the jail cell, she admits, like, when I get nervous, I just talk and talk and talk, right?
Yeah.
So she's talking and talking and talking at these two other women in the cell.
Yeah.
And, it was funny. She gets up on the top bunk when they're trying to go to bed. It's like, oh, you just want me to stop. You just tell me to stop. I'll stop it. I'll stop.
Yeah,
blah blah blah.
I
blah.
do this, and
she just kicks the bottom of the bed. It's like, okay, but good night.
And so, in a couple seasons later, they kind of follow this up.
Yeah.
In season 7, they have an episode where she gets a lawyer and she stands like she has to go for a trial. The argument that they're making is that she's not a legitimate newsman. And then, the judge immediately throws it out because he's like, yes, she is.
Yeah.
And I think
it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was a perfect thing because like, oh yeah, I've seen her out doing interviews, and in fact she interviewed me one time.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so she is part of the news.
Clearly she's a news person. Yeah.
And so it was really nice because it was like this little tie up to this episode, but also it's like it gave some legitimacy to what she does too.
Yeah.
It's funny because even in the opening of the show, there are a couple clips that aren't from episodes,
right?
That are her doing
new stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Next, we have Not a Christmas Story, which is season 5, episode 9. In this episode, Mary and Ted are fighting about a new introduction to the news. They have brought Mary and Lou into the disagreement. While everyone is upset with each other, they end up being stuck at the station due to a bad snowstorm. Tired, angry, and hungry, they are forced to attend Sue Ann's Christmas in November party.
This is such a good episode.
Yes, this was my introduction to Mary Tyler Moore.
This is an episode I show people who've never seen the show because it's so funny. It's an ensemble episode. You see the whole cast. They're so pissed off at each other.
Yeah.
And they've been mad at each other all day.
Yep.
And then Sue Ann bursts into the room and she says, "We've been snowed in." She just, oh my God.
Yeah. After everybody had already turned down her invite.
Yes.
To go to her little party.
Yeah, so now, everybody has to come and go. And, everyone's like, it's going to be nice. It's like a 7-course meal. Like, it's going to be a wonderful, but like nobody wants to do it. They're like, it's not Christmas, Sue Ann. We don't want to go do Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
But she's like, hey, there'll be enough alcohol to knock your socks off. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah. And it's such a, God, it's such a good episode. This is one of my favorites. It's for a holiday episode. It's perfect.
Yeah.
The argument they were having was over what to say for the news here, and the quote is "news from around the world and around the corner," or "around the corner and around the world."
Yeah, they were arguing over what was better.
Which one was better? Which is absolutely ridiculous. It means nothing.
Yeah.
And it causes all this trouble.
They really are like a family, they fight,
absolutely.
Fight over, things, and then they have to come together and eat together anyway.
Yes. That brings up a thing with another episode that we'll talk about here shortly, with the whole arguing with family thing.
Oh, yeah.
Next, we have Edie Gets Married, season 6, episode 1.
Yeah.
In this episode, Lou and Mary have a hard time attending the wedding of Lou's ex-wife, Edie.
Yes. Yep. Lou very much loves Edie, and it's very clear early in the show.
Yep.
And so they do end up getting to talk about divorce eventually, and they handle it, very gracefully. Lou clearly, he loves her, but she wanted a divorce, and that's the best thing for them. So that's what they do.
Yeah, I like her. I don't love her. You see? Do you understand? Yeah, you like her, but you don't love her. That's it. that poor bartender.
I know.
This episode highlights the strong bond between Mary and Lou and how their friendship has grown over the years. The episode ends with the newsroom cast singing Darktown Shutter's Ball.
Yeah, the Darktown Shutter's Ball.
Shutter's Ball, excuse me.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Anna Maria Alberghetti.
Anna Maria Alberghetti who?
Anna Maria Alberghetti in a taxi, honey.
Because in the real song, it's like, I'm gonna get you in a taxi, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Amberghetti in a taxi, honey. So it's
it's a play on
close,
words.
play on words.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it's funny. That's why it works.
Yep. And
In
why they
case you-
actually all laugh.
Yes, in case you guys are wondering what the joke was, because I
little
feel like, yeah.
Yeah, I once they started singing it, I was like, aha, I get that must be what the song sounds like.
Yeah.
But I had no clue where it was going to go when he said it earlier.
Yeah.
He says, I'm working on this joke, but I haven't figured it out.
out. Yeah.
I haven't figured out part of it yet. It's like, knock, knock, who's there? You know,
Anna Maria
Amberghetti.
Yeah.
Amberghetti who? Well, that's the part I haven't figured out yet. It's like, well, shit, what the
Amberghetti in a
heck?
taxi, honey.
Yeah.
And they all start singing it together. It's very sweet.
Yeah. One of the moments where Ted kind of came through and kind of lightened everybody up a bit.
Yeah, it actually worked. This better be funny, Ted. I lost a wife today.
Oh, yeah.
The next episode is called Mary's Aunt. It's season 6, episode 6. In this episode, Mary's Aunt Flo, not a euphemism, her name's actually Aunt Flo. In this episode, Mary's Aunt Flo comes into town for a visit. As a famous journalist with differing views, she and Lou do not quite get along like Mary had hoped.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite funny when my wife walked into the room during this episode and she said, when they were talking, like, blah, 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 Aunt Flo. And she's like, what? Kind of like looked up. It's like, what are they talking about? Thinking that they were using it as a euphemism.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, nope, that's actually her
her
name.
name is actually Flo.
Flo Meredith or something.
Yeah, Flo Meredith, yeah. This episode highlights how much Mary admires her aunt, just like Moore did in real life. Flo is the person that convinced Mary to go into journalism. At the end of the episode, Lou talks about how women like Flo paved the way for women like Mary, explaining that she isn't nice because she's had to be tough as nails her entire career.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, she talks about all these things that she's done,
Mm-hmm.
and she makes it sound like it's easy for her.
Yeah.
But only because she's done it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she has to kind of be that way to get to that point.
He gets so frustrated because she just constantly one-ups him. But the reality is that that's all she knows. Like she has to do that because she has to prove that she's twice as good as he is in order for her to maintain the career because she's a woman.
Right.
And so like he explains that at the end to Mary because Mary's like, I can't believe you forgave her after all of that.
Yeah.
And he's like, honestly, she's a pioneer, it's not easy for her. Why should she care about my feelings?
Yep.
Right.
No one ever cared about her feelings.
Yep.
And that's just, and so he explains that, and it's a really cool explanation. Yeah.
And it's cool that it was him who realized it rather than having to be told that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have Mary tell him that to calm him down. It's like, no, it was flipped. So it's kind of cool that he realized that ahead of time.
And it's one of those mentor-ish kind of moments with him too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it brings up the point I was talking about earlier where Mary says once her aunt has to leave to go on another job, they forgive because Mary kind of got angry at her that night too, and they kind of had an argument. He's like, well, if you can't argue with your family, who can you argue with? And it's like, despite that little spat they had, they're still family, and that's that. So.
Yeah. Chuckles Bites the Dust, season 6, episode 7.
Oh boy.
Oh, man.
TV Guide once named this episode as the single funniest episode of a TV sitcom. It is the most well-known episode of Mary Tyler Moore, and many point to it as the best showcase of Moore's comedic chops.
This one was something else.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
It's wild. It's a wild one. I've heard about this episode so many times before I finally watched it. In this episode, WJM's Chuckles the Clown dies in a freak peanut/elephant accident. The station deals with his death in different ways. This episode is all about death. It's poking fun at death, but also it's like kind of showing you how different people grieve.
Yeah.
And the joke of this episode mostly is that Mary, first of all, Chuckles the Clown dies. He dies in the most ridiculous way possible. It is, such a silly way to die.
Yeah.
And Mary is being very high and mighty. She's telling, why is everyone making light of this? It's not funny. A man is dead. She's very upset.
I wonder which ones are the other clowns. You'll know soon. They're all gonna jump out of a little hearse.
This is a funeral. A man has died. We came here to show respect, not to laugh.
I'm sorry, Mary.
Of course, finally at the funeral, once they're like kind of going through everything and the Reverend is talking about all the things that Chuckles the Clown did and his characters like Mr. Fee-Fi-Fo and all of that stuff.
And the peanut, obviously.
Yeah, and the peanut, and a little song, a little dance, a little seltzer down your pants and all of that stuff. And Mary starts to laugh.
Yeah.
And it's the scene when she starts to laugh and she's trying to control herself is very funny.
Yeah. And actually, there are many moments that are funny because of somebody else already laughing.
Yeah.
And that, like, this episode hit me a lot with the contagious laughter. Because, like, since Chuckles is a made-up character in the show or whatever, they're making jokes that don't fully land because we don't personally know Chuckles the way they do, right?
Yeah.
But they are laughing at those jokes so much that you can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole, you're laughing almost the whole episode.
Yeah.
Even though it's an episode relating to death.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How do you do that? How can a show pull that off?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. Well, somewhere out there, Ted, there's an elephant with your name on it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then I think Murray does one where it's like, well, at least he wasn't dressed in his banana one and peeled by a gorilla.
Yeah, be peeled to death.
Peeled to death.
Oh my gosh. Because it comes in, Lou comes in so serious when he's telling everybody, but then it just basically falls apart, and she gets mad at Sue Ann. Me and Chuckles were very close. I made the first cream pie that he ever sat in.
Yeah. Well, it's once the initial shock of it was done, then they begin their own way of dealing with it, which in most of their cases was to laugh about it. Kind of, make light of it. And the Reverend even mentions, like, that's kind of what he would have wanted. He was a clown. He lived to make people laugh.
It's okay to laugh. It's all right. But then once he tells Mary it's okay to laugh, she bursts into hysterical tears.
Yeah.
When the show began in 1970, the main character couldn't be divorced. By season 6, the characters were laughing about death on screen. It shows how much changed while the show was on the air.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, this show takes advantage of those changes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think this show made a lot of those changes too. Like, it was the reason behind a lot of this like mentality on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lou Dates Mary, season 7, episode 23.
Couldn't believe it. I read the title of the episode. I was like, nuh-uh.
You're like, that's gotta be a joke, right?
No way.
I couldn't wait to hear. I was so excited to hear Adam's reaction to this. In the penultimate episode of the series, Mary is fed up with dating and afraid that she won't ever find the right man. Georgette points out that Lou might be a good fit, and Mary reluctantly asks him out. The two give it a chance, only to realize that they would never work as a couple. After an incredibly awkward dinner, the two share a kiss that ends in a laughing fit.
Yeah.
I had a hard time watching it. I haven't been around for the whole show.
Yeah.
So I didn't have such a massive buildup. But even then, I felt the awkwardness because they were like, we're normally just, why aren't we talking normally?
Yeah, why aren't we just behaving?
Why is it all awkward now?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just like, I can't, you could cut the tension with a knife.
Yes.
It was so bad.
Yep. They were so good. It's so well acted.
Yes.
This episode.
They did so well.
This is the one that starts out when Mary has the date and a man starts just undressing in her living room.
Yes, this is the one.
Oh my God. And there's so many good lines in this episode.
Oh,
The scene when she goes in and tries to ask him out. Mm-hmm. And he's so like, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah.
We can't go out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Because Lou at first almost makes it sound like Mary's like sick or like something happened to Mary or something.
Yeah.
Because he's like, Murray, you'll never believe what Mary,
He's like, what's wrong with Mary?
What's wrong with Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Lou's like, huh? What's wrong with Mary?
Then actually, real quick, I want to mention about that guy who was taking his shirt off again.
Yeah.
Part that we didn't mention is that they seem to have a good date.
Yeah.
He takes his shirt off in the apartment while she's making coffee. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? Get out, right? But they have this moment where they talk for a second. It's like, okay, all right, fine. We're back to an understanding. Let me make you some coffee. And the mother effer starts taking his shirt off again. It's like, dude, do you not... How can you not read what just happened? Were you not listening even at all?
He thought there was an in again.
I couldn't believe he started taking.
Up to me again.
I couldn't believe he started taking his shirt off again. I was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You had it, my guy. You were back in. You could have had a second date, for God's sake." Wow.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I think it was a really good way to show just how bad it can be sometimes.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And then the dialogue where Mary was talking about how many, because he's like, how many dates could you have been on or whatever? And she's like, I've been on lots of dates. She's
and then she starts doing the math.
Yeah, he says you should date more.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
Date more. And she does the math and she's like 2,000 dates or something.
Yeah, something like that. She's like, only 10% of them were good.
200 good dates and 1,800 rotten dates.
Yes.
Oh, man.
God, what an idiot man that was. I can't believe it because it implies that was the only thing on his mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
He only gave a shit about what was going to come next.
Yep.
He didn't care about the coffee at all.
No.
The showrunners and Ed Asner reportedly wanted Mary and Lou to be a couple, but Mary Tyler Moore disagreed. So this episode was meant to shut out any idea that the characters would ever be together romantically.
Yeah.
If you watch this show from the beginning, in the earlier episodes of the show, the earlier seasons, you can see the romantic tension between these two characters.
The potential.
You could see how they could have at some point. But if they were going to do it, season 4 would have been like around the time to start laying the groundwork for it.
Yeah.
If they were going to do this.
Yep.
But because they didn't, this just feels like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't seem like...
Nope. And I'm sure Mary also decided to want to do this episode because it's like if the showrunners thought that this could happen or would want that to happen, she's like, oh, obviously there's going to be viewers that want this to happen. Yeah. And so we need to show okay, this is not actually it's not even a possibility.
Kill that ship real fast.
Yeah.
Because it was good that they did it in the second to last episode because if they hadn't done it at all, people would have just run with the idea they all left.
Yeah.
But
maybe
they could still be together.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah. I do admit, when I started watching the show and was around season 2 or so, I was kind of like, they would be a good couple. At that time, it kind of seemed like it. And then, of course, by the time this episode rolls around, it's so wrong for each other that there's, it makes so much sense that it ends the way it does.
Yeah, they still have a chemistry.
Yeah.
It's just not a romantic chemistry because they work perfectly together, they care about each other, and they bounce off each other perfectly.
Yeah.
But the romance is what's not there, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You can have that.
And it shows that, even if you on paper you'd be good or something. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'd actually.
He on paper he fits all the criteria of the man that Mary's looking for.
Yep.
But he's also Lou.
Yeah.
And the personality, it's just not.
Yeah.
They're just friends.
And when the show ends, she's single. And that was such a good statement, like she's just single and it's okay. You know, it doesn't define who she is, and it's okay that, she's just not that concerned about it.
It's more about the fact that she no longer has WJM
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah.
She has to find a new job.
Yeah. So that brings us to the last episode on our list, the last show, Season 7, Episode 24. In the final episode of the series, there is a new head of the station, and he decides that the only employee to stay with WJM will be Ted Baxter.
I can't believe that.
He's like, I gotta decide if the problem is in front of the camera or behind it, and I'm just gonna go with my gut on this one, and I'm gonna fire the news team.
Dude, it's because they so heavily imply the opposite.
Yes.
Up until that moment.
Yeah.
Because he gets off the phone, and Ted comes into the office, and it's like, hi, everyone. And they're like, hi, Ted. And he goes, oh, no. Why did you all say hi?
And then when they go to the meeting to discuss everybody's, future at WJM, Ted comes in with his wife, Georgette, their daughter, Mary Lou, by the way, is the name of the daughter. Mary Lou, the daughter, their dog, and their son, David.
Yeah, I thought you'd like to meet my dependents.
Yeah, he doesn't even say family, he says dependents.
I hope you don't mind our coming along, but we only have the one car. And as soon as we leave here, I have to go to the doctor, take the baby to the pediatrician, David to the dentist, and the dog to the vet. Bad back, bad cough, bad teeth, bad dog.
Wow.
Oh my God. And then Mary she's like, I'm not sure I was fired.
Yes, I loved that. She was like,
Such
he
denial.
said, I'm going to have to let go of you guys. And she's like, I'm
not
a guy.
So, maybe he was too embarrassed to say that I was staying.
He calls him up. Did you mean me? Oh, especially me.
Especially me. Which is why when Lou graciously, amazingly brings back Phyllis and Rhoda.
So sweet.
Which was, so sweet. And she says that,
it's an obvious case of sexual discrimination.
Yeah. And Mary was like, no, but they fired all the guys too. And Phyllis was like, oh, sweetie, like, that was just to cover it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's probably right. It could be at least.
Because she said especially you.
Exactly.
It was a very sweet moment that they came back, but Phyllis,
dude,
you still drive me nuts.
Was so perfectly acted with Rhoda and Phyllis, and they're passing Mary back and forth because Phyllis is so visibly jealous of the relationship with Rhoda and Mary. And Phyllis just like wanting to comfort Mary and
she's not good at it, but she wants to do it.
Yeah.
So she's upset that Rhoda is good
at
it.
So it's so funny.
I just love the smile that she gets when she then gets to hug Mary, console Mary. It's like it makes her so happy.
She gets to console Mary. Mary's just like crying into her shirt.
Yeah.
The team must say goodbye. This tear-filled finale was the perfect ending of the show, saying goodbye on a bittersweet note. Because the characters must go their separate ways, just like the actors, many of the tears in the finale were real. They were really crying. Those were real tears for sure. Mary gives a beautiful monologue that sums up the lesson of the show. That even though she's a career woman, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have a family. Oh my gosh. It's so sweet.
Yeah. It was actually really cool that they had that moment where she comes back out, addressing the audience.
The audience.
You remember that part too? Kind of after post-credit thing.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah. And just like, this is so hard for me to watch. I bawl my eyes out every time I watch this.
Yeah.
Because they're just crying and you know it's real. Like they're really crying. Like the show is ending. They know this is the end. You know, they don't know what's going to come next. They, you know, and that's just like, it's just really hard for all of them, you know, and they've been together for 7 years and, you know,
a long time.
Yeah, it's a
long-term relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
7 long years.
And when Mary, you know, points this out, she says, like, you know, sometimes I worry about being a career woman and if I care too much about my career, you know, and if that prevents me from having, you know, and she's like, and then I realized that you guys are my family. And it's just such a wonderful little speech.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. The most iconic from the final episode in the newsroom is the group hug. Just after Lou utters that heartbreaking line, I treasure you people. Oh my God.
Yeah, that broke me.
I think we need a Kleenex. And they all just
scoot. Oh my God.
They stay together.
Laughed so hard. And it's like, it's so iconic. Like that is one of the most iconic moments of the whole show too.
Yeah.
Like Chuckles and that. Like the group hug and the shuffle.
Yeah.
I was like, we need a Kleenex.
Some on Mary's desk.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Absolutely brilliant.
And now the hard part. How do we leave the room? Oh my God. And she looks back and she, you know, turns. And apparently when she looked back and then she turns off the light, the lighting guy forgot to turn the light off when she hit the switch. The first time that they filmed it because he was so enamored with what was going on. And so they had to do it again.
Oh boy.
But oh my gosh. 19.2 million Americans tuned in to say goodbye to Mary and the rest of WJM TV on March 19th, 1977. It's a lot.
I will say that I like to think that they at least kept in touch.
Yeah,
and
you know,
if they all still lived in the vicinity, maybe they still met up sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I know Betty White had some other shows and stuff that
IRL.
The other ones. Oh, you mean like the
I'm talking
characters
in universe.
Oh, yeah. No, in universe, Lou goes to Los Angeles.
Oh, is that right?
And because then his spin-off is in Los Angeles.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, oh my gosh, when she, you know, comes back out and she says, you know, they said for the last time, Mary Tyler Moore.
Thank you. The best cast ever. Ed Asner. Ted Knight. Gavin McLeod. Betty White. Georgia Engel. Valerie Harper. And Cloris Leachman.
Ethel Wynant.
Yeah,
amazing job.
This was known as like one of the best ensemble casts ever on TV.
All right, so the awards and reception that it received. The 7 years that Mary Tyler Moore aired resulted in the show being nominated for many awards over the years. According to IMDb, it has been nominated 82 times with a total of 45 wins. 29 of these were Emmy wins, with a win for Outstanding Comedy Series in 1975, 76, and 77.
Oh my God, 3 years in a row.
Lot. Yeah. For several years, the show that ran for only 7 seasons held the record for the most Emmy wins.
Yeah. And this is back during, and I was telling Marcia this.
Yeah.
This was during a golden age of TV.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't like this was the only thing on.
No.
Right.
MASH was also on TV at this time.
Yeah.
MASH.
You said, like, the lineup was amazing.
Yes.
People would watch.
They said it was the best lineup in TV. Like, it was
like Newhart, MASH.
Yeah, it was, it was
MASH, then
Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart. I can't remember what the other one was.
Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah. So it's like, dang.
It was like yeah. Heavy hitters.
Amazing. Mary Tyler Moore had several spin-offs, including Rhoda, Phyllis, and Lou Grant. The first 2 shows ran simultaneously to Mary Tyler Moore, but the third began after Mary Tyler Moore wrapped.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that they all are just the names. You
Yeah,
know?
Yeah.
Like, that
just
is
their
not
names.
done now.
Yeah.
But, like,
Interesting, though, that they are character
The
names.
character
Yeah.
names and not the
And
actual
and not
names.
this time,
that's
yeah.
true. That's
Yeah.
a good point. Man.
So do we want to say anything, or we just want to
Oh
read
my
that conclusion?
God.
Because
I don't know.
we've said a lot.
We've said so much.
What else can we say? I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah.
a
It was
great show that holds
trailblazing.
up, trailblazing, groundbreaking, holds up incredibly well, and
Yeah.
deserves a watch wherever you can find it.
Mhm.
There's so many things that, like, so many shows and movies and things that owe stuff to the Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
there's just
Yeah.
so many things. It's like they say, like, the show walked so the show could run. It's
Yep.
true.
Yeah.
It really was. This was so groundbreaking but just so fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
it's such a fun show to watch, and
Yeah.
it's laugh out loud funny. When I'm just watching a show alone and laughing out loud by myself, it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
When I watch this show, I do. This
Yeah.
show makes me laugh.
Totally.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
The characters are so genuine.
Absolutely.
I love everything about it.
Yep.
And I love that it could do all of those things that it did. You know, the important changing, like pop culture changing or industry changing things that it did, while still being just a great, funny show.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be super serious and like drive home these points. It's like it framed these points in a real humor filter.
Yeah.
And that's really nice, actually.
Yeah.
And
Makes
it
it a little easier to swallow.
and it makes a life like mine easier to live.
Yeah.
Where,
Absolutely.
you know, a woman in her 30s that doesn't have a significant other, there's other ways, you know, to live your life. There's not just
Absolutely.
the one way. We talked about the whole, like, you know, you're born, you
Yeah.
have your young years, you get married, have kids. Like, it's not the only way.
Yeah.
And it really showcases that there's other ways, you know? So
It's it's relatable to a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
in the late 1960s and early 1970s, the world was rapidly changing, but TV was woefully left in the past. Divorce, casual sex, single women that weren't widows, these were concepts far too taboo for TV. Enter Mary Tyler Moore, a woman starring in a show bearing her name, produced by a company also bearing her name. She and her then husband managed to put together a team that created one of the most celebrated shows in TV history, all while remaining true to her feminine self. She showed the next generation of actors and storytellers that change could be made. Mary Tyler Moore is still considered to be one of the greatest sitcoms ever created, led by one of the most iconic ensemble casts. Just like its opening promised, it represented the freedom, exuberance, spontaneity, and joy of making it on your own, but never alone. Mary Tyler Moore taught us all a lot of things, and if we try to remember even some of them, we might just make it after all.
Yeah.
You're gonna make it after all.
All right.
Oh boy.
Oh, I've heard that 5,000 times.
And it gets better each time.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we're going to have a case closed. All right. Well, we want to quickly thank our patrons, John, JD, Anthony, Shelly, Bob, Jaron, and Jacob.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We do what we do because of you. So
Hey.
thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
For everybody else, check us out on blackcasediaries.com. We have all of our socials there. Find us. And go check out our Betty White episode.
Yeah.
That's right.
Which we love doing that one. Betty White. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
An icon.
Icon.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
What is a family, anyway? They're just people who make you feel less alone and really loved.
And that's what you've done for me. Thank you for being my family.